Good afternoon to those of you that are on the East Coast and Central Time. If you're further west, a late good morning to you. Welcome to our monthly webinar on how you can really turn your recruiting and employee retention culture around in your workplace. This month, our topic is the top 3 things that job seekers expect us as leaders to address in today's labor market. And so whether your role is human resources or you're an operational hiring manager, maybe you just manage people, there's something in the next hour for you. Because while you may not be totally in charge of hiring, and maybe you don't even have a piece in the hiring role, you certainly have a role to play when it comes to recruiting. And today is all about recruiting. So let's move on. So maybe you're hiring today, right? Ultimately, what we want to do is we want to attract the talent that's going to fill open positions. And ultimately, we want to make sure that the candidate experience meets their expectations. So ultimately, what we're saying is, we want the right talent, right? We just don't want bodies coming in the door. And what the right talent today is looking for, the people that we really want to engage with, the people we really want working alongside us, are people who are looking for a certain expectation in their work, and we're providing the experience ahead of time, even through the candidate stage. And that's what's different about the approach that Paul and I have to recruiting, is that we recognize that it's not just about posting and hoping that someone replies, or posting and hoping that one in a million candidate is in that pile of resumes. We want folks who are looking for the experience that we have to offer. And there's a way to match that up. And that's going to be your biggest takeaway today. So you are in the right spot for the next hour if one of these 3 things applies to you. First off, if your job postings just don't seem to be pulling in not only the number of candidates that you want, but the types of candidates that you want, both in terms of the skill sets that they bring, but also in terms of the attitude that they bring and their background and their life experiences. This is also for you if you have great opportunities and nobody knows about them. So you've got a great place to work. You know that you've got a great benefits package. Your culture's great. People enjoy working there. And when people come to work for you, they stay. But if the outside world doesn't know about this wonderful environment you have, then we're stuck with this minuscule pool of candidates that maybe don't match up. So we've got to let the world know about what we're doing, what we're all about, and you're going to learn that today. And finally, this is for you. If you want to create the perfect job posting that's going to attract the right person for the right role. And yes, there is a way that you need to write a job posting. And Paul is just the master of wordsmithing, and he's going to share some big time secrets for you later on in the hour about how you need to write to attract the proper candidate to you. So we've got a jam-packed hour to go. If you've been to some of our webinars in the past, and I do see some familiar names and faces in the room today, please either raise your hand for a question or unmute and jump in. We want to make this interactive. When one of us is speaking, the other one will be monitoring the chat room. So feel free to fire away inside the chat room as well. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover the secret to creating the engagement that candidates expect. Now, the key word here is candidates. Like, most people think about employee engagement, and that's vastly important, obviously. But what most organizations don't think about is that engagement starts from the time someone says, I wonder what that company's about. Not when they apply, not when they first visit your website even. We are attempting to get their attention well ahead of time. And so we have to focus on candidate engagement and what Paul and I are going to refer to today as candidate experience. Next up, we're going to talk about how you build trust with job seekers. So it's one thing to have a message out there, but will your job seekers trust your message? Is your message consistent across every platform you're using? Paul's going to walk you through a wonderful case study in a well-known organization that is just a well-oiled machine when it comes to how consistent they are with their messaging across the web and social media and every place they touch a prospective candidate. And then finally, we're going to talk about and give you examples that you can take from of why the wording on your job post is critical. Now, some of you may look at that and go, yeah, no crap, Ed. Of course it's critical, okay? But the reality is that I think what we're going to show you today is vastly different than anything you've seen before when it comes to how you need to write your job posting. And I'm not going to steal any of Paul's thunder because that's his storm to create, and I can't wait for you to see what he has in store for that. So, real quick plug for next month. We are on the 12th of June next month at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to talk about 8 essential components of a world-class employment brand. You will probably get emails on that since you attended this one, but hey, this is a great one. Today, we're talking all about candidates. Next week, we're talking about all about the employees and the brand we're going to create. It's almost a stepping stone off of this webinar, so you won't want to miss that one. So who are we? Well, my name is Ed Crow. Again, I see some familiar faces in there in the room here. And so I know some of you. I'm the talent transformation expert for companies seeking 8-figure growth. Love working with companies around all things employee strategy, from recruitment to the employment experience to retention and everything that feeds into those things. And so, Paul, tell everyone a little bit about you as well.
Thanks, Ed. Hi, everyone. I'll just give you a little background. I'm a chiropractor by trade, but for the last 10, 12 years, I've been working in publishing and ghostwriting. I'm a brand storyteller, and I help leaders really express their thought leadership and take dominant roles in the sort of new evolving reality. And Ed heard me speaking on a web summit and thought, hey, maybe I could use storytelling to help my business. And we worked together, really hit it off, and got some good things happening in his business. And he thought, wow, this is something that could really help my clients. It could help people seeking or looking for job seekers tell a better story about their companies and why people should work there. And so we've been working on this for the past maybe 3-4 years, actually, and helping companies to tell the story of their company and what it's like to work there. And so that's how we've been working together. So I look forward to sharing with you today.
Thank you, Paul. Still got folks coming in. I love it. Okay. So there are 3 things that job seekers expect from us today. Okay. And this is the crux of our hour together. So the first thing that job seekers expect is they expect you to find them where they hang out. And we're going to go into each of these 3 in detail, but I just want to overview them real quickly. So in other words, we have to know where our ideal candidate is, quote, hanging out when it comes to online presence. You know, if you go back 20, 30 years ago, it was, well, gosh, what newspaper or radio station should we advertise on to hit the demographic that we want? And I know back in the early 90s when I was with UPS, we knew that most of our demographic was, kind of that senior in high school up through a mid 20 something. And so they were listening to the more rock and roll channels. So why would we advertise on an easy listening channel? Wouldn't make sense, right? And so we have to think about that same thing today. Where are our people hanging out? And we're going to go into that in detail. The second thing that job seekers expect from us is they want to work for a company that shares their values. Now, if you have a set of values that are good, but just simply aren't in line with someone's values, you may have a decent employee, but they probably won't hang out very long. The real magic sauce is when you find an employee who shares the values that your company has. And so what we're going to see is if we want that type of person, we've got to share our values with the world. They have to know what we stand for and what we're all about. And the third thing is that job post has to speak to them. The days of posting hey, we need a salesperson. You'll be on the road 4 days a week, must have own car, must have sales experience selling paper, and have 5 years of client facing experience. Okay, that doesn't narrow anything down. And Paul's going to show you how not only does that not work, people will scroll right past those kinds of ads. So let's dig in. So the first thing is, what's the secret to creating engagement that candidates expect? Anyone want to take a guess at that? Throw either unmute yourself or throw something into the chat. What do you think the secret is to creating engagement that candidates expect? That's the operative word here, not employees, but candidates. Anything popping in there, Paul?
We got Kent says empathetic leader or empathic leader.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, candidates want to have a sense that leadership in an organization actually cares. How do we show that before they become a candidate or before they become an employee, excuse me? Anything else? Any other secrets out there?
We have work-life balance from Damaris. And
Okay.
and Kent says he meant empathetic.
Empathetic. Okay. All right. So yeah, work-life balance, work-life fit, call it what you want. People want it today. And the key is that people want it in different ways. What I might consider a great fit for me may not be for Paul, and so on, right? And so it can be frustrating for us as organizations to figure out, well, what can we do culturally to make sure that all of our people can experience the best fit for them?
We also have
Please.
flexibility and salary from Karen.
Yeah, imagine that. People still want to get paid, right? So we recognize that while we're going to talk about a lot of the softer stuff today, if you're not actually paying a market rate, nothing we talk about today is going to work. So we're assuming that you have a nice benefit package that's competitive. You've got a salary that seems to be keeping pace with the market. Those basic, Maslow's hierarchy of needs things, they're getting met, right? Or someone's not even going to look at you. So that is one expectation that, or what's the word I'm looking for? Assumption we're going to make today. Anything else in there, Paul?
We have good benefits from Leslie, and Karen had also said flexibility, which I think is a big one these days.
Yep. Flexibility is huge, right? And some people throw that into the work-life fit. And I wouldn't disagree with that, right? And what flexibility means, again, between us could be very, very different. Excellent. Love it. I don't have a problem with any of those answers. So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing we really have to understand. So most people, if you think about the ages, the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, all these ages, right? The Industrial Age, people would say we're in the information age. We are no longer in the information age. And the reason for that is that we have moved from the internet being simply a repository of information. You think again, go back 20 years and you had a website, it was static, you read it, it had some pictures on it, that was it. You got information from it. There was no interaction, okay? We have moved on into what sociologists are now calling the experience age, where and all you have to do is look at the pictures I've got here on the screen. The one thing they all have in common is people are sharing experiences, whether it's a hiker, or people did a color run, a young lady enjoying an ice cream cone, and so on, right? These people are sharing experiences. We go on trips anymore, and we don't take pictures of the mountain. We take pictures of ourselves in front of the mountain, right? The whole selfie thing, because we want to share with people that we are experiencing something. Now, this is a monster shift that we have to understand when it comes to how we recruit. People don't care as much about simple information. They want to have an experience with you during the course of their candidate process and even before they become a candidate, because maybe And judging by some of the names that I know in the room, some of you have very customer facing organizations, almost a retail sort of environment, right? And so some of your best employees might be today's customers, right? And so we're aiming for a customer experience for our customers to keep them coming back. We're starting to apply that same methodology to how we recruit. How do we give our candidates and employees the right experience? And so all I'd ask you to think about here is when you think about who you might attract for workers, what do they want? And who are they, right? Now, I'm not going to dive into all the generations and their ages and all that other stuff. That's, topic for another time, okay? But suffice it to say that if you've got baby boomers who are really at retirement age now, they're mid to late 60s at this point, and on, they would probably still come to work for you, but they're probably looking for part-time work. They certainly want some flexibility. They want to travel. They want to see their grandbabies and so on. So they're going to want something different than those of us that are in Gen X. Okay. We're still in our 50s at the prime of our careers. We're in our prime earning years. And so, yes, we may want some flexibility, but Gen X is known as that work hard, play hard sort of group. We always have been. And so we'll want some different things. We are really at the cusp of empty nesting or at the cusp potentially of becoming grandparents. Maybe some of us have younger children who are, heading off to college, the last of them fleeing the nest, that sort of thing. And so we may want some different things. And then you think about your benefit packages and how just from the boomers to Gen X, the differences in benefits might be vastly greater. Okay. Then you've got the millennials. These folks are solidly into their careers now. They are not babies anymore. I am amazed at the amount of times I still see publications and people talking about the millennials like they're spoiled 20-somethings. Okay. These folks are closing in on middle age, gang. Okay. They're in their 40s now. Their kids are well established. They've got the house, 2 cars, and the picket fence. Okay. These are not your recent college grads anymore. And so, they may want certain things, and where they're hanging out online is very different than where the Xers and the boomers might be hanging out. Okay. Then you've got Gen Z. So Gen Z, they're coming into the workforce. These are today's college grads. So if you're out recruiting at colleges, you're getting Gen Zs. Okay. They're not significantly different from the millennials in some of how they approach work, except for the fact that they do seem to be a little more grounded, maybe even a little more cynical like us Gen Xers, because they're seeing what's going on in the marketplace right now. Problem is they're also seeing runaway inflation and inflation of wages, which is making it harder for us to recruit folks. Where they're getting a little cynical is going to go back to what Paul's going to talk about, which is, oh, we want you to have 5 years experience for a job that really doesn't require that, right? And so these kids are coming out of school and no one wants to give them any experience. That's a big challenge for us. And finally, while they are not yet in the workplace, we do have the alphas. Now, the oldest alphas are in high school, so they're not too far away from entering the workforce. In fact, some of the older ones you may be hiring now for, say, part-time summer employment, if that's your thing, okay? And again, these kids, very, very different. They're doing everything on portable devices. So you will hear Paul talk about making sure that your posts and your interactions are very mobile friendly. Most of these kids have never used a desktop, and a laptop would be cumbersome for them, even though we got kids here using it. They're on a tablet or they're on a smartphone. So you can see through these 5 generations how different everything is. And so they expect you to find them, right? It's not just about they're looking for you. And so when you think about recruiting, I want you to think about it in terms of fishing, right? The fish don't jump out and go, hey, yo, I'm over here. I'm in this lake hanging out under this rock. If you throw your bait over here, I'll come get it, right? That's a silly analogy, but it's true. Candidates are not jumping up and down telling us where they are. Okay. So we have to do our research. If you want to hire a Gen Xer, where are you going to find them? You're definitely going to find us on LinkedIn, probably find us on Facebook. But if you want to hire Gen Z, you're not going to find them on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, maybe something like that, right? So you have to know your demographic and you're going to have to do some research on that to go find them where they are. Now, the next thing that's up is how we build trust with job seekers. And this is by putting out a consistent message across all platforms. So you're sitting here saying to yourself, oh my goodness, Ed, look at all the social media platforms that are out there. How do I keep up with all of them from a recruiting standpoint? It's a massive challenge today. But what is absolutely important is that the message across them all is consistent. Now, that doesn't mean the same. What I need to hear as an Xer is going to be different than what a Gen Z might want to hear. And so it's just that the message is consistent, and that's the type of work we're offering, our values, those types of things. They're being communicated in a way that each generation can identify with, but it's very consistent. And so at this point, I'm going to toss things over to Paul because he's going to run you through Patagonia and what an amazing case study they are in how to be consistent and how to really talk to the kind of candidates you're asking for.
Thanks, Ed. I really love learning about the generations, and it's kind of fun. Like when you read about them or hear facts about them, and it hits your generation, and you're like, yeah, that's right, I get it. And that's exactly how we grew up, and that's how things were. And this interesting book that I read called Generations by a lady named Jean Twenge, I think it is. She was talking about how it's the technology that's introduced in a certain time as people are maturing that really affects generations, which is why we're seeing shorter gaps between the generations. It's no longer like, baby boomers born right after the war up until, say, 1965. And then the Gen X came like right at 1965 till whenever. And it's like when the millennials came along, the internet became a thing. I was in Gen X, like I got through university and through my post-sec, chiropractic school without even having a computer of my own or an email address, right? And I was in the workforce before I was using the internet. But these millennials, they grew up with it always at their fingertips, but they would have been on desktops and computers, but they knew they always had access. And then you have the Gen Z comes in and there's social media, and that's how they communicate and hang out. And so the way that information flows really changed. And then now you have these alphas where there's the like button and everyone's sharing stuff to get you all riled up. And so they're all like polarized and they're exposed to these polarizing messages all the time. So there's a whole difference in how generations react. So it's really, really key to understand these things about the people you're attracting and the demographics and how you put things out in the platforms that they are frequenting. But as a case study here, we're going to use Patagonia. Why? Because they know what they're all about as a company. They know what they stand for in the world. And Patagonia, it's an outerwear company. They create, all sorts of gear for climbing and experiencing the outdoors, doing things that are really extreme, doing things that involve nature and involve that nature is there in its pristine beauty. So you'll also see that they're really very much about the environment and supporting it and bringing the health of the environment back. And so it's one of the most trusted companies in the US, and they beat out 99 other prominent businesses for their ethics, citizenship, and culture. And this is what people voted on because these things are really important, not as much to the boomers and to the Gen Xers, although Gen Xers care more. But as you get into millennials and Generation Z, people really care about the world that they've been left and that they're leaving to others. So these things are becoming more and more important. and they will ask about your values. They'll ask about what you're doing for the environment, and they want to know. And a lot of them won't work for a company that isn't doing something that's, social, environmental, or has a cause. And so this is what I get when I go on to the Patagonia website. And there's so many things to click on just aside from the clothes and things they're selling. Like you'll see right away that they're into activism. They're into the causes that they really believe in that support the earth. And so you see Yvon Chouinard is the founder, and he's the old dude in the background there. And his statement is that the earth is now our only shareholder. That's Patagonia. We serve the earth. If we have any hope of a thriving planet, much less a business, it's going to take all of us doing what we can with the resources we have. This is what we can do, Yvon Chouinard. So you can see what they stand for. And they're a huge company. They're all over the world, in Europe, in the US. And so if you go to their careers page, you can see that they're telling you who they're looking for. First of all, somebody that sees these mountains and finds it appealing. And they say, we're looking for highly motivated, unconventional thinkers to join our mission. If you love big challenges, taking action, and want to help preserve the wild places where we play, see our open jobs. So, there's not everybody's going to be looking for a job at Patagonia, because not everybody's going to say that's me.
And what's neat about it, Paul, is and you called attention to it, right? I mean, they're all about the outdoors, and so you've got the outdoors picture, but notice they say that they want you to join their mission. How often do we see, oh, come join our team, right? Which say it's okay, but it's like a higher calling almost that they're reaching out for.
And what they've done, and this is what smart companies are doing now, that are really future focused, is they are putting themselves in a category of their own. Like nobody else that makes outerwear can touch Patagonia, because nobody else that makes outerwear stands for the planet on such a large scale and on giving back. Like you'll even see that they sell used clothing. Like you can bring your clothing back to Patagonia and they'll sell it again. They'll buy it off you, and they repair and sell clothes. So they're more about their mission than they are about their company and their products. And they evangelize what they stand for rather than what they're selling.
Yeah.
It's a really amazing way to stand out in the business world. Now, this is really long. So what I wanted to show you here is, after you click through on their careers page, you see that you're on the careers page, but you see we're in business to save our home planet and we're hiring. And then they tell you where they are. We have offices in Ventura and Sausalito, California, Reno, Nevada, our European headquarters in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and we have a number of retail stores across Europe and the United States. If you find a position that matches your skill set, please fill out an online application, attach your resume, cover letter, and any other relevant info to help us understand why you're the right person for the job. We want to hear about your adventures, passions, and how your values align to our mission. So see, they are already saying, we get that people want to work places where the values of the organization align with their personal values. And they're saying, like, show us who you are and show us why you're a person that aligns with our values. And then the paragraph below just says, what's going to happen after you submit your application and how long it's going to take us to get back to you, and then that we're, our DEI policy and that we don't discriminate. So that's the invitation they put out.
And it's nice because we've seen this on other case studies we've run, Paul, right? Where they actually tell you this is the application process and this is what you can expect, versus, hey, upload your resume and you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, those days of sending your resume into the void and not hearing anything back, those are gone. Like that is not a good candidate experience. That means, like if a company ghosts a candidate, they are offended. They're just like, what? Don't apply there. And then they tell 10 friends that company it doesn't have a good candidate experience. Because this experience that we're talking about applying for a job and going through all the steps to being onboarded, that is like a customer experience. It's to people these days, it's like if I go into a store and I want to buy something and I'm like, I've had a few $100 that I want to lay down and no one looks at me and they won't even talk to me and they're rude. I'm taking my $100 or my $300 or whatever, and I'm going to another store where they appreciate me. Now, when people are applying for jobs, they're like, you can't even show me appreciation during this process. Why would I even come join your company?
Yep.
And that's really a big expectation in terms of values as well. So as you dig further, you can search by location, you can search by department, and you can see like the level of roles that they offer. So these are things that people are building into their careers sites. And there's technology out there that you can actually, you can get SaaS sort of products that will actually work on your site to lay your jobs out in this way, or you can use third-party services. But making this experience of finding a job on your site is quite important. Now, you don't have to do it to this level. And what I'm going to show you later is that you can actually use your job posts to showcase more of your of who you are and what you stand for. Because in a lot of cases, like I said, you've said that, and the people that you talk to, like, where are you recruiting? Like, where do you have your feelers out? What do most people say, Ed? Like, in terms of where they recruit.
We're on Career Builder, we're on Monster, we're on Indeed, we're on LinkedIn. Okay. But how targeted is that? Right? Do you even know who you're going after? Or are you just like, well, everybody's on Indeed, so I guess I'm going to post on Indeed because the commercials say they're the #1 online recruiting platform these days. Okay, great. Maybe that's true, a true claim, but is it going to work for you?
And so it's a matter of, finding again, where are people? Should you be looking for talent in the universities and colleges and going to career fairs? Are there places in the community where you can actually go to source your candidates? I mean, some people that are looking for people in sales are just seeing, how good was the person at Starbucks, their at the coffee shop, and their customer service, because you can tell a person who's good at sales right from the bat off the bat. If you went in for a coffee and you came out with a muffin as well, and you're really happy about that, that's a good salesperson. So
And, I, and
there's
I've
a
seen
lot
I've
of
seen that, Paul, right? Where people will carry along like a little, hey, we're hiring card or something. And when they, especially if they're in a very customer facing environment, when they get that level of service at a Starbucks or wherever, hey, we're hiring. We'd love to have someone like you. Here's my card, or here's our card. Get into our system. That works, right? And because, like you said, gosh, I mean, customer service today is really good customer service, hard to come by. And so, why wouldn't you, if you were in a customer facing role and you experienced good customer service, try and nab that person? It sounds like dirty ball, but that's the market we're in. We're competing for talent today.
Yeah, and the best talent is just they're looking for their next place to go, to learn and to grow. And that's what we're dealing with these days. People are looking to change careers or change companies because they're looking for growth.
Mhm.
And if you can show people that the growth is happening in your company and that they have options, and you can show them that from the start, then they're going to think, wow, this is a place where I can invest my career and do some good things. But they need to know about it, and that's the big thing. So the whole reason we were telling you all about those generations and where they hang out is how can you show what it's like inside your company, but through the different platforms. If you post on LinkedIn, if you post on um, Facebook or Instagram, how do people know that it's a good place to work? And that's what we'll be talking about next month with the employment brand. So let's continue with this. So this is LinkedIn, Patagonia. You can see the guy climbing that sheer rock face, and where I would not be caught dead, but because I'd be dead. So anyway, you're in the right place, and you can find out about the company and Yvon Chouinard and then when he founded it, and as well as all the jobs. So there's consistency. You can see the brand, and this consistency across platforms builds trust. And then I'll show you what's on either Facebook or um, okay, this is still LinkedIn. You can see the activism. You can see articles about what they're involved in. So it's just showing who more of who they are.
Now, can I
And
make
then
a
yeah,
let me
go
make
ahead.
a point here, right? So take a look at this middle one here that says walkout. Now, if you see just a little bit of the print here, it talks about businesses can and should support reproductive rights. Now, this is a monster hot button topic, right? Abortion rights, women's body, their choice. I mean, no matter how you look at it, they're taking a stand. And this might turn some people off, right? A pro-life person might look at that and say, you know what, I'm never buying their products again. I don't want to work there. But that's okay with them. And so whether you agree with their stance or not isn't the point that I'm trying to make. It's that they've taken a stance. And one of the things Paul and I have found from our research is that today's candidates more increasingly want to know where a company stands on social issues. Now, there are a lot of legal issues about taking a stance. There are certain business implications from taking a stance. But what we're hearing and seeing in the market is candidates want to know this kind of stuff, right? So they know whether or not they're going to fit in that culture. Anyway, I wanted to point that out.
Oh, for sure. This is Instagram for Patagonia, and again, showing who they are. People climbing, people doing things with the earth and environmental causes, and so you're in the right place. And if you click on this, you can see that actually a lot of customers and a lot of employees share stories on here, and you'll see it better on the next one on Facebook. See, this is Courtney Reynolds, and she goes through people's garbage looking for cast-offs and things that scraps of fabric that she can turn into clothes for her preschool age kids. And it's not nowadays, it's not because people don't have things or don't have money. It's because they don't want to contribute to waste. And one of the biggest polluters in the world is the fashion industry and clothing that gets thrown out. So the circular economy around clothing, which Patagonia is big on, they're supporting this and they're showing how their customers do this. So the values just keep showing everywhere. So if we're looking at top 3 job seeker expectations, they want to work for a company that shares their values. And how are you putting out your values? A lot of companies that we look at, and when we start working with them, their values are those, 4 things: integrity, service, and loyalty, or whatever, that are printed on their website somewhere, if you can even find them. And you couldn't get most of the people in the company to state them or talk about them. So being able to take your values and show them in action through posts, have your employees understand what these values mean for how we show up in the world, how we show up to customers, and why the company was started. Having stories about that is really part of step 1. The secret to engaging the candidates out there is just show your values in action on social media, on the platforms where people are looking. So, LinkedIn, and if you're looking for boomers and Xers, and Facebook for that category, and then for millennials, Gen Z and lower, you're looking at Instagram, maybe YouTube videos. So it's just a matter of where you're putting information out. And this is the world we're in. You have to be sharing and posting and giving a real look at inside your company. What's the culture like? Which, again, that's your employment brand in action. And we'll get more into how to do that next month, because it's a simple concept, but there's a lot of things that come together to do it.
So I'm curious, Paul. I'm wondering if we say that Patagonia is a 10, right? Like they're perfect in how they are sharing their values and their consistent message. I'm curious if today's attendees would throw into the chat, where would you rate your company? If Patagonia is a 10, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on where you're at with, as a company, sharing your values and being consistent across all platforms that you're either advertising or recruiting.
And we're not looking to see oh, look how bad you are here. It's like, it doesn't take a lot to actually bump your number up pretty quickly. And again, some of the things that we're sharing in this webinar, plus what will be in the next webinar, will show you just how much you could share.
Okay,
Ooh.
got a couple threes coming in. Got a six, but we're not consistent. There's another six.
And I get it. In a lot of cases, maybe it's just that wow, we kind of totally neglect our social, or um, we're not getting our employees involved in it.
Mhm.
And I think it's a matter of really like if you have some policies on how people can post and what they can share, and obviously confidentiality is a big issue. But if people know the guidelines and they're like, wow, I'm really doing something fun here. I'm enjoying my work and I want people to know what we do here. When you get people involved like that, when your people are eager to share what life at work is like, they become better employees and they attract more of the same.
Yeah, got another six in. So, it's good to take these honest looks at ourselves and say, okay, we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be a Patagonia. Okay. They do have more resources than maybe a lot of us have, okay, in terms of their company size. But that doesn't mean we can't be the best that we need to be to recruit the kinds of people that we want. And so, we encourage folks to take baby steps. Don't try and do everything we just showed you at Patagonia all at once. Just take the baby steps with your. It seems like a couple of you are concerned about your consistency. Just start there, with how consistent you are sharing your message, and then maybe working on how that gets communicated out and things. All right, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah. And when we in the next section, when we're talking about job posting, this is a good place to start and to start thinking about how can I get my values across in, say, the wording of my job posts. How can I communicate more of who we are as a company in that listing where, it's not just a paper salesperson with like 10 years of experience and we pay, like whatever the salary is and we have these benefits and it's in this location, because that's the minimum standard people are looking for, the salary and the benefits. That's where they're not going to scrap you. Like they're not going to say no, there's no way I'm looking at that. It's the other things that grab attention, like what is the, not necessarily the job title, but like what's that, the first few lines, what does it say to me, and is it speaking to me, the job seeker? So I'm going to show you what we've done with a real, with a company that we worked with. But here's the thing. In the candidate experience, which just means that whole experience from the person thinking, I wonder if that company is hiring, to looking into their to starting to creep them on LinkedIn and social and seeing what's going on in that company, and going down the path to even seeing the career site and applying and all that. That's all the candidate experience. The big thing about having a good candidate experience is it needs to be concise. And then with the job posts, you don't want big long job titles that don't mean anything to anyone. I think I wrote down the job title that you asked
Mhm.
me about. I had a client in they're an organization here in Canada that supports the municipalities, like the cities and towns and all that. But they were looking for a senior director, capacity and sector development. And I was like, I had to rewrite the job post for that. So first I was like, well, what is that? Like, what exactly are we dealing with? And basically, I had to find out. Okay, it's basically a VP level role, so somebody with skills in. They had a lot of different skill sets, but nobody with the skill sets would actually know that that was a job for them. So anyway, that's something that we have to fix. So if it's concise, you want 1 to 3 words in the title, job title, and that doubles the rate of applicants. And then you're consistent. So messaging in the job posting is consistent with website and with the company story online on LinkedIn and Facebook, etc. And then engaging. And this is where a lot of employers just they just post the post and hope and then leave it. There's no engagement with the actual candidates. The interactions aren't there. There aren't opportunities for people to engage before they've even expressed interest in being hired. And so what you'll see with the companies that are doing it really well, or on say Patagonia's LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, is their customers are posting, and people are posting and expressing interest. So they could just comb through their social and they could be like, we could reach out to that person and maybe ask them to apply. Or, that could be a good place to start looking with before somebody even starts seeking us. So if job posts are not getting any traction, and this was a company that Ed and I worked with, it was one of the first ones that we worked on together. And he's like, "This is such a great company. It's right in his backyard, kind of part of the world, and they do engineering, and the people that have been working there love it there, and they've been there like 20, 25 years. And we even found like a millennial in the company that had been there for like over 15 years, which is sort of like way beyond the tenure for them.
Mhm.
And um, so I interviewed a bunch of them, and we were rewriting their job postings in a way that was a lot more interesting. And so the old way of writing a job post is where, ABC Co says, "Oh, we're 100% employee owned and employee owned engineering design firm offering competitive salaries, professional development, and a comprehensive benefits package." So this is talking about ABC Co and not about who the person reading this is. So it's kind of like blah, 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 whatever, right? And so the salaries are competitive. Again, that's minimum standard. Then they go on and they say, "We are seeking an energetic and goal-oriented civil engineer, project manager to support our municipal engineering team in Philadelphia." And nobody was responding to this. So then after we interviewed people and found out that they're so excited about their projects, they love that they work on the projects in their backyard and they see the finished design of whether they're working on a bridge or they are doing a cutting edge environmental sort of installation. They are so proud of the work they do, and that keeps them there. So
Mhm.
we converted this to the new way, which is one of the fellows that I talked to, not Jay Hancock, but he was the one talking. And he was just telling me, he goes, "We work on really cool projects. We're not just talking about these things, we're actually doing them." And he was so excited when he was telling me this. I just remember the conversation. I was like, geez, like I want to see that. And you know what he's talking about? He's talking about wastewater management and biosolids, which basically means things you don't want to know.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, so we wrote that as senior project manager, you will lead the municipal water wastewater team, providing your technical expertise and guidance. You'll be the trusted advisor to our clients with the freedom to develop new business relationships and close new opportunities. You'll have the chance to grow your skill set and access exciting new projects while integrating with our municipal engineering team. So it's the same job post, but it's saying like, look at what you get to do. And all of a sudden, people started applying because they could see themselves in this job. And so then they say examples of projects you will oversee include biosolids and renewable energy development. And then with access to ongoing training and development, you will enjoy a fulfilling and dynamic career surrounded by a team where employee individuality is harnessed and integrated. So it's the same job post, but written in a way that tells a story about the company, of what they stand for, and of the kind of people that work there.
And you know
So all the
what's
things,
so
go ahead.
oh no, I'm sorry, finish your thought, Paul.
Oh, just so all the things we've been talking about, like up to this point in the webinar, but infusing that into the job post. Go
Yeah.
ahead,
I
Ed.
mean, and then the pushback that we hear is, well, this doesn't say anything about the company. Folks, the stuff about the company, they can get on your website, right? They can go to your careers page and hopefully see, oh, we're employee owned. Cool. We offer all these benefits. Cool. We've got, market-based pay. Cool, right? We don't have to put all that in the job posting. The job posting is your ad. I think we forget about we used to say we're going to put a job ad out, right? What's the purpose of an ad? To draw people in. You would never write an ad like this one to draw customers in. We are seeking customers to come and buy our product. We're 100% employee. You would never do that, right? So why do we do it when it comes to trying to attract employees? So all we're doing is we're taking a marketing stance that Paul has such a strong background on and applying it to our HR process.
Yeah, so the biggest factor in these job seeker expectations, and it's not like they vocalized it to us, it's just that they won't look at you if the job post doesn't speak to them.
Mhm.
So you need to know that your job posts are getting some traction. And what we have for you, and it's really cool because it actually is the process we went through with these actual job posts. And you'll see a job post. I think there's a before and after in it actually.
Mhm.
And we showed the transformation of how you take that job post and what the different steps are to convert your job posts into job posts that pull and that convert. And you can get that actually if you just give us a little feedback. This is a QR code. Scan it with your phone and tell us anything that you liked and didn't like about what we did for you today, and if you got any value out of it. And we'll give you that job post paper that tells you how to write a good job post that converts.
Walks you
And,
through our
and
process. Yeah, right there. Exactly how we did it. And if you don't want to be put into our mail list, you just uncheck don't check the subscribe me to your mail list, and you'll never hear from us again. But this is our freebie to you for coming here today and giving us some feedback on how we did and the things that we covered.
and you were saying that you shared that with a not-for-profit you were working with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we had a not-for-profit that I sit on the board of, and the director came to me and she was struggling to recruit a specific position. And I said, well, hey, here's the process my associate and I use when we're working with clients on rebuilding their recruiting structure. So we revamped her job post to fit the criteria that you'll see in this handout. And about 2 weeks later, she's like, Ed, I can't believe the difference. Like I'm getting more resumes and there are more quality resumes in there. And the gal she ended up hiring loves the organization. They love her. It was just a great fit after having a position open for several months. The example that we shared you there with the engineering firm, they were trying to open up a new office down in Philadelphia. And the problem for them is they're this small kind of regional boutique firm. You go to Philly and you got all the big boys down there. And they came to us because they were concerned about whether or not they could staff an office with all of those things stacked against them. We got that office open, what, Paul? It was in less than a year. I mean, they were definitely on schedule with getting that office open and fully staffed. And what was cool about it is they pulled talent from the big boys down there and people that were tired of just sitting behind a desk pushing paper, who wanted to get out in the field and truly do engineering work. And it was just such an amazing, I won't call it a turnaround, but a result, I guess, is the better word for it. So, the information contained in this job post handout will tell you everything you need to do. We're giving away the secret recipe, I think, actually, quite honestly.
I
We're not
know.
like Coca-Cola. We don't keep it locked in a vault in Atlanta. But no, we're happy to share it with you.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking back to the beginning when Ed, you asked about what was it? What people thought was the secret to
Mhm.
engaging with the candidates, and we had the empathetic leader, work-life balance, and flexibility, salary, good benefits. These are all things that, yes, you can work into what engages people, into the story you tell about the company and the picture you're painting about what it's going to be like once they get in the organization. But you have to tell the story, and that's the big thing is a lot of companies are doing great things and they don't talk about it. And then they think, oh, well, I can't compete with like the big company, like with the big name or whatever, because everybody knows what they do. And unless you are telling those unique factors that you probably take for granted or don't even see because everybody's just happy and not saying anything, until you start asking, interviewing, and highlighting these things and putting it out there, nobody's going to know that you're better. And there's a lot of reasons why small and mid-sized companies are better than the big boys, as Ed calls them, because people do get to see finished projects. They do get to work start to finish on something in their backyard instead of on something they've never seen and will never see the end of or whatever. And they will take lower salaries to do things like that because there are a lot of things people value more than money. And so again, that's what we'll be talking about in the employment brand webinar, which is, do we have the slide that's on just to close
It
out?
was, yeah, June 12th, I want to say. You will be getting a when on Monday when the email goes out that will give you access to this replay. It will have a hold the date in there as well for you. But so yeah, I always get asked after these sessions, hey, my associate missed it. Is there going to be a replay or something? Absolutely, and you will get the link to that. It'll sit out on YouTube, so anyone can view it at any time. So I know we've got a couple of minutes left. I'd like to open things up for questions while folks are still wrapping up their feedback with us. Tell us either, what's on your mind, or better yet, tell us what your one takeaway was from today. We promised you actionable things you can go back and start doing right away. What was your takeaway? Go ahead and throw that in the chat room for us and let us know what your takeaway was. This is also a way to hold yourself accountable, because even though you may not know anyone else in this room, as soon as you type it in here, that means you got to go do it. Okay, Pam says, make it personal. Excellent, Pam. Alana, find people where they are. Julie, how to appeal to different generations and where their interests lie. Yep, exactly. Very specific there. Ken says, pay attention to what others do, not just. Ken, can you explain that a little further? So you say, pay attention to what others do, not just my posts. Can you tell me what you mean by that? C. Layton says, show the core values. Kendra, being open to change to attract different candidates. Absolutely. I'm loving the takeaways. You guys have been a great group, because you
I wonder if Kent's Kent may be talking about paying attention to other people's posts and what they're doing. And
yeah, true.
Yeah, looking to better orgs like Patagonia. Exactly. Yep. That's where you're going
Thanks,
with that,
Ken, for clarifying that. Yeah. Looking, and I'll tell you what, Ken, another thing is looking at your competitors. Mm-hmm. What are they doing? And when you think about looking at those competitors, don't just go to, oh, I'm a bank, I'm going to look at other banks, right? Who are you competing for talent with? Go look at their websites and how they're posting things. Yeah, Adams, I think that's Pam, right? Be original and creative. Excellent, excellent takeaways. So everyone, I know we're right at the top of the hour here. Paul and I want to thank you so much for being interactive with us. You have contact information for me on my website. If you have questions, you want to know more about this topic, hit my website up. Right on the homepage, you can grab a free set of time with me, and Paul will hop in, and we're happy to talk through whatever issue you might have. And just to wrap up, someone else says to show core values in action. And lots of thank yous coming through. Well, we appreciate all of you being here and your feedback. If any of you have trouble downloading that freebie, again, just reach out, let us know. We want to make sure that you get your freebie as well. So thank you again. If you enjoyed this, we hope you come back next month and tell all your friends to come join us next month for the 8 pieces that comprise your employment brand. Have a great rest of the day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.